Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the assassination of Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King. And of course, we're fortunate to have with us two individuals to talk about these assassinations. Dr. AAl-Hadid from Tennessee State University, the chairperson of the Africana Studies Department, and Dr. Baldwin from Vanderbilt University, a professor in the Department of Religious Studies. And of course, let me welcome you, Dr. AAl-Hadid and Dr. Baldwin, to the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
And need I say that neither of the two of you need any introduction at all. I think that you have provided us with excellent shows. Both of you have provided us with excellent shows over the last many, many years. And what we consider today is to perhaps cap off all of the information that you brought to us, and that is the assassination of Malcolm X and the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. But before we get into that, let's recognize that the two of you have collaborated on excellent information, excellent books, and et cetera. But people probably might not know that much about you as individuals. So let's have you, Dr. AAl-Hadid, to give us some information about your background, education, and et cetera. And of course, Dr. Baldwin, you'll do the same thing, and then we'll get into the assassinations.
Well, I'm originally from Montgomery, Alabama. Went to George Washington Carver High School there in Montgomery, and also Alabama State University, where I graduated with my bachelor's degree in sociology and psychology. From Alabama State, I went to California, University of California, Santa Barbara, where I took a doctorate degree in sociology. Between preparations for my dissertation and doctorate degree, I traveled to East Africa, where I studied at the University of Nairobi. Made the pilgrimage to Mecca in 1970, came back and completed a master's degree in educational psychology. Then I moved from the education department to sociology, at which time I got my doctorate in sociology with an emphasis in social psychology, political sociology, and my dissertation topic was the sociology of Pan-Africanism.
Dr. Baldwin.
Okay, I grew up in Camden, Alabama, which is, I guess, about 80 miles south of Montgomery, Dr. AAl-Hadid's hometown. I went to Camden Academy High School. As I indicated in an earlier interview with you, I went to Camden Academy for 12 years, elementary, secondary, high school. I finished at Camden in 1967 and matriculated at Talladega College in Alabama, where I majored in history and minored in political science. And as I indicated to you in an earlier interview, I was inspired very much by what went on in the movement to pursue graduate level education, also to pursue seminary education. So I went from Talladega in 1971 to Crowser Theological Seminary, got the MA and the MDiv in Theology and Black Church Studies, and from there in 1975 to Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, where I pursued PhD studies and received a PhD in the history of Christianity in 1980 with a special emphasis on the Black church traditions.
And of course, let me say during this first segment, Dr. AAl-Hadid and Dr. Baldwin, that the two of you have worked very, very closely dealing with Dr. King and Malcolm X, and that you've joint authored a book dealing with these individuals. And I think that we can only anticipate a very, very lively and a very, very informative discussion in reference to the topic of the assassinations. I think that we've had both of you, as we said earlier, but we've not dealt almost exclusively with the assassination of these two individuals. And it has occurred to me that since these assassinations occurred during a time of the 1960s, and that in a real sense we lost two great leaders, then I thought that maybe we ought to be able to talk about that. And let's start off, Dr. AAl-Hadid, by having you to make a couple of statements in reference to the conditions that existed prior to the assassination of Malcolm X.
We're talking about, let's start with a statement that he made after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Kennedy, as you know, was assassinated November 22nd, 1963. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told all of his ministers not to make any comments about the assassination of Kennedy. And Malcolm followed that directive up to a point. He gave a speech in New York, standing in for Elijah Muhammad. It was called God's Judgment of America. So he said nothing about the assassination of Kennedy. And then when a reporter asked him a question about it, he just, in offhand way, said it was a case of the chickens coming home to roost. And quite naturally, that got in the New York Times, got all over the paper, and then it caused a situation where he was suspended from the Nation of Islam for 90 days and never admitted back into that organization.
Very good. And of course, let me have this first commercial break, and we'll get back. And we'll be back with you following this very, very short commercial break. The assassination of